Here we are, just finished the second session of the Construction Summit 2023. This session was all about, can MMC improve the outcomes for climate change? Delighted to have grabbed Eloise Francis, who's the Director of Innovation at the BRE. Eloise, you're one of the speakers in the session that's just finished. Some fascinating stuff there, some quite complex stuff in there, I have to admit. But the fundamental principle of modern methods of construction improving climate outcomes is a massive topic. When we were talking to people over coffee this morning, there were two topics they were all wanting to talk about. Modern methods of construction was one, and sustainability and climate change was the other. And this kind of brought those two together. But if we can go back a step, could you, I know it's going to be a difficult question to ask, but could you try and explain what modern methods of construction encompasses?
So it's everything from what we might see as the volumetric build. We hear about modular homes, so it's that volumetric aspect of bringing those homes to site and reducing the on-site time taken and wastage of materials when we do, from a traditional build, down to looking at different ways of procuring and improving construction in a more traditional setting perhaps. But actually, as an industry, I think we want to move to that higher end of off-site manufacture, designing for manufacture by building it into that procurement process right from the word go, client-led, whether it be private or public sector, changing the way we procure and bring projects to life. So for me, it's a modern methods of construction. It looks across the whole blend, although there are those 7 defined categories which industry have pulled together to help industry understand what it is. But it is a blend of approaches. Yeah,
and there was some really surprising stuff in there for me. And you know, it struck me how you at the BRE have done lots of research, which we could spend hours talking to, and maybe we'll invite you on our podcast to talk about it. But you look at it really from a sort of a societal impact, not just climate change, but the impact on human beings in society. And in the middle of an energy crisis, that's particularly notable. But you talked about cold homes and warm homes in the UK. Can you tell us a bit about it?
So I mean, we're very fortunate actually that we've been running the housing data surveys for government for many years across England, and we do it in Scotland and Wales too. And we look at the fuel poverty research too around the UK. So for us, it's that data insight gives us a real understanding of where our challenges are with the housing stock in the UK, damp, mould, cold, but also overheating. And then we talk a lot about net zero actually in this country at the moment, and driving net zero, because that's the challenge that government have set down for themselves and industry. But actually it's climate resilience as well, which is such an important part, because whilst we're trying to move to net zero, the climate change is still happening.
Yes.
And it's going to take a long time to revert that, and actually probably some of it is irreversible already. Yeah. So us being resilient as a society in our built environment is a real key important factor of that too. So the data science that we get around the housing stock is a really important part of that journey of understanding, to help industry, to help government prepare for that climate resilience element.
Yeah, and you talked about ageing housing stock in the UK, and I guess in my mind I was thinking the stuff you talked about earlier, modern method of construction, is all about new build, and when you're going to set out and design a house or a school or a hospital has been talked about today, I didn't really consider that it applied to our existing housing stock. But you're saying that's where one of the biggest opportunities lies.
I do believe so. I think at the moment when we talk about retrofit, it can be everything from cavity wall insulation to replacing your windows out, but actually that's done on a very small basis and on a property by property. If you look at it as a system problem, how can we improve this across broad housing estates, or social housing, or multi-storey housing, multi-development dwellings? There's real opportunity to drive and use modern methods of construction to support that. So panelised systems of cladding on the outside of buildings or in the roof, on the roof as well, and not only upgrade the thermal efficiency, because it's that fabric first of approach, but also look at opportunities to improve energy use within the building as well by swapping out old, maybe failing boilers with new modern methods of heating homes. And something that was really important about that is the ventilation as well, because we've learned from mistakes historically as a sector where we've heavily insulated buildings but failed to ventilate them, and then you build up other problems with that too. So ventilation and thermal efficiency are two things that need to work together.
I think it was Ben Carlisle from McDonald's said about 25% of UK emissions are from the built environment, which is a shocking figure in some respects. And then someone also said on the panel about the construction industry being one of the most fragmented sectors. How difficult is it to bring the sector together to tackle these problems? And I guess what role does the BRE have in doing that and summits like this?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly difficult to bring the sector together. I've worked in it for too many years to count, but right from when I was knee-high, I think, really, I've always been involved with it. But for me, it's that long tail of industry, and having worked with fantastic developers over my career, and also gone through a house refurbishment myself and worked with that small supply chain that we, small builders, and the difference in understanding is astronomical. So for us, it's about how we can educate the industry, work with government, work with the big players in the market to educate the industry. It is about collaboration, but we have a fantastic tool here at BRE, which is our Constructing Excellence membership group, and led by Ali Nichol, who's helped put this conference on today with Tata. And that Constructing Excellence network with its regional centres is a great way of getting across industry, getting that movement together, getting that collaboration together. And it's events like this which really start harnessing that knowledge and understanding, and we just need to play it back and play it out across the UK. Yeah,
we certainly need to keep on. I guess my last question, Tata Steel is sponsoring today's summit. We feel like we're quite high up the supply chain. You're talking about the house builders and new windows and insulation and stuff. What role do companies like Tata Steel have in pushing this agenda forward?
You are at the top of the supply chain, but at the same time your products are used across the UK in even the smallest of construction projects and home refurbishment schemes. So your products are there, and actually those that supply those products that deal with that supply chain on a daily basis are a really important part of the process of bringing the industry together. One of the forums I'm on, and I'm fortunate to work with, is the Health and Safety Executives Construction Industry Advisory Committee, and that's been there as a way of driving information into the small suppliers in the chain, that long tail of the construction industry. And for me, that getting that information down and out there is a really difficult thing. It's bite-size education, and education from all those girls and boys that are coming into the construction industry now, to educate them in these newer ways of working, to get them to understand that the industry does need to change.
Yeah, it's a massive topic, and I know 5 minutes on video is never going to do it justice. But listen, thanks very much for joining us on camera today, and for the session today. It's fascinating. There's lots more to go at, so we're going to go and find some more people to talk to. But Eloise, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.